Severed finger under the bed. Blood tragedy in Kathmandu, Nepal. Kathmandu, Nepal. November 2024. Night fell fast, like a dark shawl covering the Himalayas, while in the heart of the capital, Thamel glowed with neon lights, the smell of spicy curry, tuk-tuk smoke, and live music from bars clashing together like a chaotic symphony. Along the narrow street of Vijayatha stood an old inn called Shanti Guesthouse, its yellow painted walls peeling, its green wooden windows creaking in the wind. It was a favorite for backpackers, cheap, central, and rumored to have once hosted an Everest climbing team in 2018. That evening, in room 12 on the third floor, Jonas Schmidt, a 22-year-old German student, returned after drinking Chang beer with friends. He rushed up the stairs, giggling with leftover drunkenness. The door was ajar. Jonas pushed it open. The sight inside froze the smile on his face. On the grey tiles, beside the double bed, a dark red pool of blood spread like a grotesque flower. The red travel backpack of his roommate, Anna Muller, stood upright. Her passport lay on the table, her phone charging, but Anna was gone. In the bathroom, the shower still dripped. The water was warm. Steam fogged the mirror where a hand had smeared down, leaving a blurred trace as if trying to write and then stopped. Jonas trembled as he approached and opened the wooden door. A chilling sound echoed from the drain, the drip, drip, of blood not yet dry. Jonas screamed, stumbling back against the mattress, and when he looked under the bed, his heart shattered. A severed pinky finger, nails still painted red, lay alone on the cold tiles. The whole Shanti Guesthouse erupted in chaos. Tourists rushed into the hallways, screaming. Some called the police on local phones. The old innkeeper, his eyes cloudy, stammered, "No, impossible. Shanti has never had something like this." Half an hour later, when Kathmandu city police arrived, Jonas still sat slumped on the stairs, his face pale, cold sweat dripping as if he had just escaped a nightmare. Inspector Rajesh Thapa, with a sturdy build and a brown khaki jacket, walked straight into room 12. He crouched, touched the blood pool with his gloved finger, then looked at his colleague. His voice was hoarse but firm. "This girl did not leave on her own. This is the scene of a kidnapping or worse." When the forensics team shone a light into the vent behind the kitchen, the air in the room seemed to freeze. One technician flashed his torch, then immediately gagged. Inside the narrow gap, a clump of dark brown hair, matted with dried blood, stuck in the filter, unmistakable traces of a woman. Police immediately sealed off the guest house. Guests were asked to leave, whispering in panic, "Where's Anna? Has she really disappeared? Or is she still here, within these four walls?" And so, a shocking case began in the heart of Kathmandu, where disappearance meant more than vanishing. It was a life cut short mid-journey, leaving behind the horror story of its final victim. Kathmandu was not just Nepal's capital. It was a living maze of history, religion, and darkness. Hindu temples stood beside Buddhist stupas, narrow alleys tangled like spiderwebs, where incense mixed with motorbike smoke and the cries of street vendors. Yet beneath that bustle lurked shadows, stories of disappearances never solved. Chilling rumors among backpackers, people vanish in crowded streets, never to be found. Inspector Rajesh Thapa, 48, was no stranger to that darkness. Born in a poor labor district on the outskirts, he grew up amid the dust of an expanding city. Joining the police at 20, he quickly stood out for his ability to remember crime scene details and his instinct to smell when something was wrong. But his career carried scars. A wife lost to a medicine shortage at the hospital, a son who left for England and never kept in touch. He lived alone in a small apartment, dedicating his life to the job. Colleagues often said Rajesh's eyes were like knives cutting into wounds. He spoke little, but once he entered a crime scene, his silence made everyone tense like a tightened string. When the report from Shanti Guesthouse arrived, Rajesh knew at once this was no ordinary tourist disappearance. The inn had a good reputation. Its elderly owners, Mr. Hari and Mrs. Mira, were kind, hospitable, praised by travelers for years. But in recent months, due to age, they had hired extra staff, a young receptionist, a cleaner, and a kitchen helper. Few knew much about the newcomers' pasts. Rajesh stood in room 12, his eyes scanning every detail. The door showed no signs of forced entry. Anna's passport and phone were untouched, meaning she had not left on her own. The blood under the bed indicated serious injury, and the hair caught in the vent filter, likely from when the victim was dragged through the utility shaft behind. He stepped into the hallway, looking down the cramped corridor. Over 20 guests from France, Japan, India, the US crowded together in shock. Whispers in many languages echoed, but they all carried the same feeling: fear. In the guest register, Rajesh immediately noted Anna Muller, Arshasith, from Munich, checked in 3 days ago, sharing a room with Jonas. Petite build, long brown hair, fond of journaling and photography. On the table lay her notebook, blue cover, corners bent as if roughly crumpled. Rajesh took a deep breath, turned to the investigation team. This is not just a disappearance, this is murder, and the killer may still be inside this guest house. For a moment, the entire Shanti Guesthouse seemed to hold its breath. Old innkeeper Hari stammered his innocence, while Mira trembled in prayer. But Rajesh believed none of it. He knew, in a small guest house, locked at night, with no strangers coming or going, the killer had to be one of them. Outside, temple bells echoed, like a warning from ancient walls. Rajesh felt a chill down his spine. This case would not only shake all of Thamel, but could expose secrets Kathmandu had buried for years. And he knew one thing clearly: the darkness in Shanti Guesthouse had not just taken one life, it would thirst for more, until dragged into the light. Outside Shanti Guesthouse, Thamel was still noisy with tuk-tuks and curry smells, but inside, the air was so thick it could be cut. Rajesh ordered a full lockdown, no guest allowed to leave. He knew the killer was among them. Investigators spread out, questioning each person. Small details began to emerge, like shards of broken glass reflecting a distorted truth. First suspect, Hari, the innkeeper, a 70-year-old man, thin, with grey hair and cloudy eyes. He trembled as he insisted, "I only wanted to earn some money from tourists. I've never killed anyone." But Rajesh did not overlook one detail. Room 12 had only 2 keys, one with Jonas, one at reception. So how was Anna attacked with no forced entry? Hari and his wife had access to every room. Furthermore, under Hari's fingernails, forensics found traces of dried blood. He hastily explained it was chicken blood from a ritual. But Rajesh noted, not to be dismissed. Second suspect, Sunil, the new receptionist, a 25-year-old man, once a trekking guide but fired for gambling addiction. He seemed cooperative, but when asked about the night Anna disappeared, he faltered. I went out to buy cigarettes. Don't remember what time." Hallway camera showed 11:47 p.m. Sunil stood by the stairs, staring at room 12. Then the footage suddenly cut out for 10 minutes. Coincidence? Rajesh did not believe in coincidences. Third suspect, Maya, the cleaning staff, a 32-year-old local woman, more silent than speaking. When asked, she only replied curtly, "I work, I don't know anything." But in the supply room, police found a rubber glove with faint bloodstains. Maya explained it was from cleaning the kitchen. Rajesh did not overlook her eyes of someone who had seen more than she admitted. Fourth suspect, a tourist, Jack Turner, 38, from England. Rajesh finished reading, a chill running down his spine. He signaled the tech team to inspect the floor of room 12. Under UV light, they found a faint blood trail stretching from beneath the bed to a wooden seam near the bathroom door. It seemed the victim had been dragged away through the utility floor. At the same time, forensics reported the hair caught in the vent was not only Anna's, it also contained black strands matching Maya's DNA. The atmosphere in the guest house grew thicker. Rajesh stood in the hallway, countless eyes on him, filled with fear, confusion, and concealment. He tapped his pen lightly against his notebook, muttering, "At least 3 people know more than they're saying, and one of them has turned this guest house into a sealed operating room." Outside, rain poured down on Kathmandu. Water hammered the roof tiles, mingling with festival drums echoing from afar. But inside Shanti Guesthouse, the only thing present was the sense that death still lingered. Rajesh returned to room 12 in the evening, when the crowd of guests had been gathered in the lobby for questioning. Outside, rain fell hard, each drop like an iron hook striking the old roof tiles. The room reeked of mold and dried blood, neon lights flickering over the stained wooden floor. He knelt down, tapping gently on each plank. When a hollow echo rang from a section near the wall, Rajesh signaled the tech team to open it. The wooden board lifted, revealing a pitch-black crawl space, so narrow one had to lie flat to squeeze through. They shone their flashlights down, and everyone fell silent. In the crawl space lay not only a long streak of blood, but also a torn piece of white dress, stained with blood. Rajesh recognized it instantly. Anna's dress. Worse still, at the end of the space, they found an old suitcase. When pulled up, it was heavy, its lock rusted, and the stench of death made everyone turn away. Opening the suitcase, inside were shattered human bones mixed with decayed brown hair. A small tin box lay among the remains. Rajesh opened it. Inside were clipped fingernails, neatly arranged like a collection. No one could speak. Jonas, Anna's boyfriend, burst into tears and collapsed to the floor. Rajesh clenched his notebook tightly. Now he understood. Anna was not the first victim. The news spread outside. People gathered at the guest house gate, faces anxious, whispering, "This isn't just a murder. This is the grave hiding a chain of disappearances." Rajesh focused on Maya, the maid whose hair was mixed in the vent. At first, Maya firmly denied everything, but when pressed, she broke down, her voice trembling. I didn't kill anyone, but I know this place has secrets. 3 months ago, while cleaning the bathroom, I found a bloodstain under the tiles. I asked Mr. Hari, he said, "Don't meddle. Some things in Shanti aren't meant for you." Rajesh took note. Mr. Hari was summoned, his face pale, but he still insisted, "No, it wasn't me. This house is old. Those bloodstains could be from years ago." But his words became meaningless when the tech team dug deeper into the crawl space. They uncovered 2 other human skulls, hidden under rubble. One belonged to a female, about 20 to 25 years old. The other, male, unidentified. Rajesh stood in silence. The truth was surfacing. Shanti Guesthouse was not only where Anna vanished, but also a graveyard for many buried souls. That evening, Rajesh returned to the temporary office inside the guest house. He laid the evidence on the table: Anna's hair, the suitcase of bones, the box of fingernails, the diary with the words "look under the floor." Each piece led to a deeper nightmare. As he pondered, a young officer rushed in, face pale. "Sir Rajesh, we just got a report. A traffic camera 2 kilometers away recorded Sunil, the receptionist, on the very night Anna disappeared, carrying a black sack on his shoulder, heading toward the old canal." Rajesh immediately ordered a search team, and when they dredged the canal, from the thick mud they pulled up a rotting sack. Inside, clothes of several other victims, cut to pieces, and a wool scarf embroidered with the name Mira. The name chilled Rajesh, because Mira was a Japanese girl who went missing while trekking in Nepal 2 years ago. A case never solved. The pieces fit together in a cruel way. Shanti Guesthouse was connected to a series of international tourist disappearances, and Sunil, with the sack in the night, had now become the most crucial link. Rajesh stepped into the hallway, where the Kathmandu rain still fell like sobbing. He looked at the silent row of rooms, their wooden doors tightly shut. He knew someone in this guest house wasn't just killing. They collected, hid, and turned death into a grotesque ritual. And the first twist was revealed. Anna was not alone. The victims before her had stayed silent in the dark, only to now speak through their bones. The next morning, as the rain eased, the Kathmandu sky was covered by a heavy sheet of leaden clouds. Shanti Guesthouse was completely sealed off. At the gate, dozens of reporters crowded, camera flashes going off non-stop. Locals gathered, whispering as if the old house had just become a gateway to hell. In the cramped room turned into a temporary office, Rajesh sat upright, his eyes sunken after a sleepless night. In front of him were 3 enlarged photos: the box of fingernails, the suitcase of bones, the scarf embroidered with Mira. He knew there was no way only one person was behind it all. This was a network, and Shanti Guesthouse was just the central link. He summoned Sunil, the young receptionist, for interrogation. The young man kept his head down, his hands trembling violently. But when asked about the black sack on the rainy night, he suddenly broke into sobs. "I didn't kill anyone, I swear, but I know. I once helped them clean up." Rajesh leaned in, his voice like a blade. "Who are they?" After a few seconds of silence, Sunil spoke. "Mr. Hari and a special guest named Samuel. He came here often, always booked room 9. I only followed orders, otherwise they would kill me." The room was so silent that the ticking of the clock could be heard clearly. Rajesh tapped his pen lightly on the table, thinking. Samuel, a name he had glimpsed in tourist reports. A foreign man, French passport, often stayed in Nepal for months with no clear occupation. Tall, greying hair, spoke Nepali fairly fluently. In border police records, Samuel last left Kathmandu 5 months ago. Rajesh turned to confront Mr. Hari. The old innkeeper sat slumped, his wrinkled face trembling. But when Rajesh placed the scarf embroidered with Mira on the table, his eyes flashed with panic. I don't know. Maybe someone hid it in the cellar. I'm old, my eyesight's poor, I didn't see anything. Rajesh slammed the table, his voice heavy like a hammer. Stop acting, Hari. For years, this guest house has been a trap. Tourists come, vanish, and you bury them beneath your own floor. Was Samuel the one helping you sell bodies, or were you the one doing it all? Hari leapt up, screaming in despair. It wasn't me. I only kept the keys. Samuel, he was the one who chose the material. I was scared. I didn't dare resist. Anyone who did disappeared. The fragmented testimony revealed part of the truth. Shanti Guesthouse had long been exploited. Samuel, the mysterious foreigner, was the predator, while Hari and perhaps even Mira were just links forced into the chain. Meanwhile, the forensic team reported a new discovery from the suitcase of bones, a section of shin bone with clean marks from a power saw, not an ordinary knife. This matched Samuel's former trade, once a carpenter in France. Rajesh sat in silence. The pieces were starting to fit together. Anna disappeared after snooping around. Before her, many tourists had gone missing, but their cases were mislabeled as voluntary departures. Hari and Sunil stayed silent to preserve their own lives. And Samuel, the mysterious foreigner, was the blood-stained hand. Jonas, Anna's boyfriend, was now invited to provide more details. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse. That night, Anna told me, she suspected room 9. She heard the dragging of something heavy and the sound of flack of like a power saw coming from that room. I thought it was vague, but maybe it was Samuel. The entire room sank into silence. Rajesh stood up, his shoulders rigid as stone. He knew the truth was still incomplete. Where was Samuel now? Was he still killing somewhere else? And inside Shanti Guesthouse, were there still bodies left undiscovered? He looked at the cracked wall, where morning light streamed through the door gap, dust drifting like ashes. Inside, Rajesh echoed a chilling truth. The victims were not only buried in the ground, they were buried in the silence of an entire community. Those who saw knew but dared not speak. That afternoon, a sudden chill swept Kathmandu. Waves of dark clouds rolled in, casting heavy shadows over Thamel. Shanti Guesthouse seemed sealed inside a gloomy atmosphere, every brick, every iron bar on its windows radiating tension. Inspector Rajesh had just finished a brief meeting with the investigation team when his phone vibrated. An anonymous message, no number attached, arrived. Samuel never left Kathmandu. Check the old basement under the kitchen. Tonight, he will return. Rajesh froze. His heart pounded in his chest. If true, the entire long-held theory that Samuel had fled Nepal was nothing but a smokescreen. He immediately ordered tighter security around the guest house. The task force set up an ambush, but Rajesh knew someone like Samuel would never walk into a place so obviously guarded. He must have his own way in. Night fell, rain drizzling down. In the abandoned kitchen, Rajesh and 2 officers entered, flashlights sweeping over the mold-stained cracks in the walls. Just as the message said, beneath the old tiles they discovered a small trapdoor, locked with rusty iron. When they shone their lights down, a narrow corridor appeared, leading deep into the earth. The air was thick with the smell of mold and rust. But mixed within was something else, acrid, putrid, sending chills down Rajesh's spine. The stench of rotting flesh. They advanced. Flashlights swept over old stone walls, blotched with dried blood. Along the corridor were small cells like prison rooms, packed with grotesque objects. An old refrigerator containing plastic boxes labeled with women's names. Suitcases with torn edges, inside still scraps of blood-stained fabric. On the table, a thick leather-bound notebook, handwritten in French mixed with Nepali. Rajesh opened it. The scrawled words read like a diary. Each victim is a piece of music. The screams are the melody. Blood is the instrument. I am only the conductor, recording their final symphony. Turning to the next page, a list appeared. Names, ages, nationalities. Rajesh's breath caught when he saw not only Anna, Muller, and the previous tourists, but also names reported missing over the past 10 years around Kathmandu. More than 25 people. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from the end of the corridor. Heavy, slow, but deliberate. Rajesh raised his hand for silence, his other gripping the gun tightly. The beam of the flashlight swept forward. A tall figure appeared, shoulders draped in a black raincoat, head hooded. A gaunt face, graying hair hanging loose. Cold, gleaming eyes reflected the light. Samuel. He stood there, showing no surprise, only smiled faintly. You've come at the right time. I haven't finished the final performance. Rajesh stepped forward, his voice sharp as ice. You killed them. So many lives turned into works of art. Tonight, your play ends. Samuel tilted his head back, his rasping laugh echoing through the chamber. End. Do you think your justice can bury me? You forget, I never work alone. As he spoke, 2 steel doors in the side corridor swung open. From the darkness, 2 figures emerged. One was Mrs. Mira, Hari's wife. Her eyes bloodshot, her hands trembling but still clutching a kitchen knife. Beside her, a burly stranger, likely a long-hidden accomplice. Mira whispered, her voice tinged with madness. Hari was weak, but I was the one who kept the secret. Without me, Samuel would have been exposed long ago. Everyone thought I only prayed, but it was I who mixed blood into the tea, hid the keys, cleaned the scenes. Rajesh froze. So from the beginning, the elderly couple weren't just pawns forced into the game. At least one of them was a true accomplice. Samuel smiled with satisfaction, running his hand lightly over the blood-stained wall. You see, this isn't a personal game. This is a ritual. And Anna Muller is only the newest chapter in our Bible. In that moment, Rajesh understood. The case wasn't about a lone deranged killer. Behind Shanti Guesthouse was a hidden cult, using death as material for art and twisted rituals. Samuel was only the conductor, but Mira and perhaps many others were the choir. The tension was so sharp, even breathing felt like knives. Samuel slowly drew a long, gleaming blade, its steel reflecting like the eyes of a madman. Rajesh tightened his finger on the trigger, the gun aimed straight at his chest. He knew tonight would either end the nightmare or add his name to that leather-bound ledger. Thunder rolled outside, rain lashed the old tiled roofs. In the damp stone cellar, death seemed to lurk in every dark corner, and Samuel's mad game had only just begun. A bolt of lightning split the Kathmandu sky, light flashing into the damp stone cellar. Rajesh inhaled deeply, his gun arm steady as rock, while his heart pounded like a war drum. Before him stood Samuel, the man who had sown nightmares across so many innocent lives, and beside him Mira and an unnamed accomplice, forming a deadly triangle. The air was thick, heavy. Each raindrop outside echoed like the ticking of a countdown clock. Put the knife down, Samuel, Rajesh ordered, his voice firm. Samuel sneered, raising the blade, steel flashing. You don't understand. We do not kill people. We liberate them. Every scream, every drop of blood is a prayer for an immortal symphony. Rajesh ground his teeth. He had heard enough. There was nothing left in those eyes but madness. Suddenly, the accomplice lunged, blade swinging straight for Rajesh's throat. Decades of steel-hardened reflexes made him pull the trigger. The gun cracked loudly. The bullet tore through the man's chest, sending him crashing onto the stone floor, blood spreading in a dark pool. Mira screamed, but instead of fleeing, she lunged towards Samuel as if seeking shelter. Samuel shoved her away, his voice cold as ice. "You're weak. I have no use for the weak." The blade flashed and plunged through Mira's chest. Blood spurted in a dark red spray. She collapsed, eyes wide, as if finally realizing she had only been a sacrificial pawn. Rajesh screamed, firing another shot. The bullet lodged in Samuel's shoulder, but he did not fall. Pale-faced, a cracked smile on his lips, he staggered forward, never taking his eyes off Rajesh. "You may kill me," he hissed through his teeth, "but this composition has already been written. You are only the one who came after." He lunged forward. Rajesh fired the final shot. Samuel collapsed, the knife clattering onto the stone floor. In the silence that followed, only the pounding rain remained, like applause for a depraved play that had just ended. 3 days later, Shanti Guesthouse was completely sealed off. Police excavated the entire basement, uncovering evidence of at least 27 victims, most of them tourists who had gone missing over the past decade. Each victim was meticulously recorded in the leather notebook, like a grotesque score. International media flocked to Kathmandu. Headlines screamed, "Missing lodgers turn out to be victims of blood rituals." Newspapers dubbed Samuel the conductor of death in the Himalayas. Rajesh was invited to speak at the press conference. His face was gaunt, but his eyes still sharp. He spoke slowly, each word heavy as lead. "We have let too many people vanish without asking questions. We became accustomed to silence, to assuming they just left. But silence is the fertile soil where evil takes root." Outside, the victims' families wept as the list of names was read. Some parents collapsed, clutching photos of their children. They had waited for justice for years, and in the end, the truth brought no comfort, only deeper wounds. Rajesh quietly left the hall, standing before the gates of Shanti Guesthouse. The old stone house now wrapped in bright yellow police tape, but to him it still looked like the gaping mouth of an ancient beast that had swallowed an entire generation of innocent travelers. He whispered softly, as if speaking to the souls of Anna, Mullah, and the others, "You deserve to rest in peace. But your blood will not be in vain. We will remember, and we will not let silence kill anyone else." Finally, on a wall in Kathmandu Square, someone painted graffiti, an image of a hand rising from the darkness with scrawled words, "If you hear whispers in the dark, speak up, for silence is complicity." That was the message carved into the hearts of the people of Nepal and travelers around the world. Monsters do not only live in deep forests or prisons. Sometimes they wear an apron, open the guest house door, and greet you with a smile.